Hi. Thanks for coming in. Sorry for the delay. As I said, we had some small trouble with Wi-Fi, which is not an OCP device. We need to use Wi-Fi because there's a Mac and there's only one Thunderbolt adapter, so I can't connect Ethernet and the screen at the same time. Is this my screen? Okay. So it's there, but yeah. Cool. So you see that. That's cool. I'm CEO and co-founder of xCloud Networks, and today I'm going to share a little bit about zero-touch deployment, which we integrated using OCP switches, Cumulus Linux, ONI, and all these open technologies, which is open for community, and everyone can take advantage of using that. So at the beginning, we need to configure the switch in the system. I'll show you that live. A few words about the setup. So I have a edge core switch here running Cumulus Linux. This host, this small box is just a host for pinging in, and as you can see, it is connected with just one cable. So the ping works. If I disconnect this, you'll see it stops, just to make sure that I'm pinging the right device. So it works, and I'm going to connect to the switch and I'm going to reinstall the switch in zero-touch mode. So hopefully, after reinstalling process, it will come back and the ping will be back and up and running. On the service side, I have configured VXLAN, which is just let me make bigger. So I have connected these two ports, port 17 and port 33, like these two ports, into a VXLAN. So that's the service, operational service, and these pings are running through that VXLAN. Just want to make sure for one last time that everything is good. Okay. So I'm typing this command, ONI select, ONI install mod requested. This will wipe out all system data, make sure to back up your data. So this will basically tell the switch to erase the running operating system, reboot, and try to ask the HCP server for IP address and necessary stuff it needs to get configured. So yes, reboot required. Yes for reboot, and switch is going down for reboot. And you see there's no ping anymore because switch is rebooting. So that will take some time, about 8 to 10 minutes. I'll switch to my presentation, and from time to time I'll come back to the output of console, so you'll see what's happening on the switch side. As you see, it's by default showing on ONI, which will start the ONI installation process. You see that line, HTTP 10 to 54, whatever, ONI installer? So it has downloaded the image, and now the installation process will start. I'll try to keep both windows visible. Okay. So I'm not doing full screen in order to keep the console window visible. Or maybe it's better to do like this. Just a second. So, want to give you some background. First of all, just want to let you know that it's super simple to use this zero-touch provisioning stuff, because what you need is just a regular ISC, DHC, DHCP server. It's available on almost any Linux operating system. You basically install it. You put some simple configuration like regular IP configuration, and in addition, you provide two lines which do actually the magic, so that option, default URL, and URL to image. In our case, the image is stored on a web server on top of our controller. It's just a web server and the file, and ONI is going to just HTTP download that file, and we'll check some checksums, and we'll try to unpack and install. But what's also important, so we don't need just fresh installation of the operating system. We need operating system with Cumulus license keys on top of it running, and all the other configuration up and running, orchestration agent, in this case, xCloud agent. So in order to do this post-install configuration, we need to pass this parameter option Cumulus provision URL, and it's another URL to the same web server, which is basically a script. So what will happen that after the installation, the Cumulus will download that script and will basically execute it. So it's installing. You see 55% of configuring packaging. Few words about identification. So we're doing this not for installing just one general switch, but for installing one particular switch. So there's a problem of identification of the switch. In our system, in xCloud's controller, identifier is, one of identifiers is IP address, and after installing the switch, we want to make sure that it is up and running with the appropriate IP address, as well as with appropriate Cumulus license. So this script, a post-installation script, which we auto-generate, is unique for every switch, and it contains its unique IP information. That's how we manage to put the proper configuration into each switch. Meanwhile, the switch is installed. It's doing the first booting of the Cumulus. That's only part of the story. After that, we should see how the post-install script is getting executed to put all the necessary other configuration. So, how we create connection between switches in your data center towards the controller, which has this DHCP and web server, is outbound management. Here is the blue cable connected to the small outbound management switch. In your data center, you may have larger switch, but idea is the same. And this small black box is this small black server is the controller with xCloud, which is running the HCP and the web server. So in this manner, we would end up by installing switches like one by one, which we don't want to do because we think about these large data centers, and doing things one by one does not work on this scale. Because either we will need to plug every switch one by one and install them, or if we try to install them at the same time, we will end up in a messy situation where all the switches will try to pretend itself like there are others. So how we solve that problem? We use smart switches for the management too. So not the small one like this, but like an OCP kind of switch, again, for the management, running its own smart operating system, and xCloud agent on top of this. So when you connect, when data center guy wires up the data center, he should go to web interface and tell, I have connected this switch to this physical port. So based on that information, as you can see on this diagram, based on that information, we will configure the management switch accordingly. So we will configure 2 VXLANs on the management switch for each port. One VXLAN will be for regular management, and another VXLAN will be for zero-touch deployment. So VXLAN for zero-touch deployment will be like untagged. So when switch first boots up, it will try to speak with untagged Ethernet frames into this port, and that traffic will be forwarded to the DHCP server. And based on link between particular switches and port numbers of the management switch, we'll figure out which post-install script to send towards which switch. So that may sound complicated, but when you do all these things in automated fashion, that makes the magic. You just plug in things. This is switch number 1, this is switch number 2, and that's it. You power up them, and they just boot up and install. Yeah, I've already told about this parameter. So Cumulus provision URL, it's a DHCP attribute which helps to pass the provision script URL to the switch. Now the switch has been installed. And it needs some time to pick up the configuration. And you see it works. And I'm going to repeat that just to make sure that we are pinging correct host. So cable unplugged, no ping, cable plugged, ping replies. So it works. We are open for collaboration. Our booth is number C21. We'll be happy to see you around our booth. Come over. We have an operational copy there. You can actually try to configure stuff. We can do reprovision switches, play with it. We can show some configuration files. We are open for all kind of cooperation and discussions. Thank you very much. That was zero-touch deployment with xCloud.
That definitely deserves applause for doing a live demo of a full switch install.
It worked.
Very nice. So we have time for some questions. If you want to ask questions, please use one of the 2 freestanding mics so that your questions get recorded.
So if you have a fresh, totally new switch that you bring it onto the network,
Yeah.
have an IP. So how does the zero touch know that that's the right switch?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. That's very important question. Let me show you something. So in this GUI, you configure the switch and you configure IP address of that switch. That's a loopback IP address and management IP address. Now let me show you a slide. So imagine if we can create different specific post-installation scripts for every switch. We can put like individual IP address in that script, right? But the challenge is how to send appropriate script to the appropriate server. How we do that is with the help of smart management switch, because these management ports are connected to a smart switch, and every that kind of port is running in a separate layer 2 domain. And its DHCP requests are being served by separate DHCP instances based on VXLANs. And you would answer how in that case we do like regular management. Because if these ports are going to like different domains, you may want to put all the real management IP addresses in just single VLAN. That's accomplished by doing a VLAN tagging. So this port actually has two Ethernet connections, one untagged for DHCP discovery and sending individual scripts with individual Cumulus license and individual IP addresses, because Cumulus license also can be different for different switches. And the VLAN sub-interface is used for like regular management. Yeah. You can come up by our booth and we can discuss that in more details. Any more questions? Okay, so
thank you, Alex.
It was zero-touch deployment with xCloud. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Thanks.